Hello, hello. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Psychic Talk with Priscilla Gendron. I'm your host, Priscilla Gendron, and joining me today, after a little bit of delay and computer errors in our non-technological world, full of technology, it doesn't always play fair with us, and we now finally have the amazing Jennifer Alden, and she's all the way from the amazing New York, and I absolutely adore New York. It's one of my favorite places to go. And before we started the recording, her and I were having a good chat about New York and the beauty of it. So welcome, Jennifer. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Priscilla. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for asking me back.
You're welcome. And we met each other a number of years ago when we did an event for the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. And so for those people that don't really remember Jennifer or are having a renewed invitation to her, I'm going to just leave it over to her to just explain a little bit about her journey of what led her to be, the person she is today, because we all have a journey that we have to take in order to reach our goals. And I feel like she's got quite an interesting journey that she's undertaken. So I'll leave the floor up to you to just explain a little bit about yourself, who you are, and the journey you've taken.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Let me give you all some background information. I'm a Bach Flower Remedy practitioner, and I've been doing this work for 39 years. I'm actually a registered practitioner with the Bach Center, which means that I've taken very special courses and certified actually from the Bach Center themselves. And I was extremely fortunate for 10 years to work with Nelson's Pharmacy, the leading pharmacy in Europe. And they actually are the manufacturer of the Bach Flower Remedies. So I was stationed in New York City where I live, and I did in-person demos and trainings of all the stores, all the pharmacies. I traveled around New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, and I taught at a university as well, the Bach Flower Remedies. And that gave me a totally different insight than being just a private practitioner, having individual in-person clients, because I got to talk to everybody who buys the remedies, and I got a completely different perspective on how they help people over these many decades. And it was really
everybody
wonderful.
Seems to be different.
It was really wonderful. And the fun part about it is, with my training, when you're in a store and you're standing at your table and you've got a beautiful display, anybody can ask you any question. And so it was really challenging because I knew, of course, all the basics, but some people had questions, and sometimes somebody would tell me their story, and it would be a very deep emotional story, and they needed help. And so we would chat, and then together together they would see what remedies that they needed, which they bought. And it was really delightful because I really got to see the remedies working in the field, so to speak. So along with my always being a private practitioner and teaching group classes. And earlier on in my career, I had a center in New York City on the Upper West Side. So we did group classes and trainings and stuff there for people. And her whole idea was to combine the Bach flowers with other therapies. So we brought in other practitioners if somebody needed it. We were trying to create a holistic center, which lasted for a while. That also was a very good experience, because that was a different perspective, again, of how the remedies help people every day, which they do, and they can do. So as a practitioner, my main work at this moment, before the pandemic, I did a lot of in-person classes, and then I did a lot of work over the phone. And then during the pandemic, I kind of tried to switch to the internet, which I wasn't totally successful for, except for my writing. But I want to begin to go back to private consultations, and I'm also in the process of figuring out how to write up a class that people can take. And I'm also certified. There's a few of us in America certified as Bach Flower animal practitioners. And to get that training, I had to learn animal behavior. So I went to the Natural Animal Center in Wales. And I was incredibly fortunate because I didn't have to travel to Wales. The woman, Heather Simpson, who created the center with her husband, she was, unfortunately, she passed away, but she was my mentor. And she came to Boston when I was working for Nelson. So I just had to travel to Boston. And we did an intensive program of 10 days of training, and then we had an exam, and then we had case studies and stuff we had to do after that. So the rest of the work was remotely, but I became a registered animal practitioner in 2013.
Because sometimes it's easier to treat animals than it is to treat humans.
Yeah, it's different. You have an extra bit to do, which is working with the vets. So, but then you have an extra bit to understand, because with animals, I'm working with their environment. I'm working with what's going on with them every day. I'm looking at their the situation that their person wishes to find a solution to. But sometimes underneath
because it's like with a human, the human can say to you, I've got this ailment or that problem or this problem. With an animal, they can't really vocalize that.
No, not unless you're working with an animal communicator.
Yes.
You know, and then they can vocalize, they can telepathically vocalize to an animal communicator.
Telepathic connection.
The thing is that we were trained so carefully that I can with the person together, we can see what it is. They might have a thing like, oh, my dog barks too much. Well, this is New York City example. My dog barks too much when they get in the elevator. So I would look at what happens before the elevator, what happens in the elevator, what happened in their life. You know, maybe they were a rescue dog, maybe they had some abuse when they were younger. There are some trigger points that are going on, some points that they're doing. So together we help solve those problems in a very systematic, scientific way. And then the animal takes the remedies and we report back and forth, you know, and they go back.
I mean, just from you giving that reference to the animal, like barking and going into the lift and going up to the apartment that they're in. For me, as psychic, I would say that that would be a fact that they came from being put into a cage, or, you know, maybe mistreated or locked up, things like that. And so for them stepping into an elevator, that is like a box.
Yep, for some of them it is, and some of them it's just sometimes animals are so amazing. Sometimes it's like with a puppy, they don't want to sit, they're not being stubborn, but maybe it's the texture on the floor that does something to their paws that they don't understand. Usually it's a miscommunication, you know, or they've been introduced to it in a way that made them afraid. A lot of times, a lot of my work is with the humans, because sometimes they just don't know, rightly so, because when you get an animal or a dog or a cat, it doesn't come with an instruction book. They just assume when you adopt somebody, oh, it's a dog, it's a cat, it's going to work. But not always, you know, there needs some training and there needs some background information and there needs some, you know, patience and loving kindness and attention in a different way. And most people don't ever get that, you know. When they bring somebody home, for many reasons they want somebody home. And that actually happened in the last 3 years. A lot of the rescue centers got back animals because people took them home as company during the pandemic, but they didn't get any guidance on how to create a relationship that would last. So at least in the UK, a lot of people unfortunately, you know, let the dogs go. And a lot of the rescue centers are now kind of full up because of that, because the relationship just didn't work in the long term. And I think that's really education. I think part of that is just people needing to know what to do when they bring somebody home, you know. And I'm a big believer in education, you know, both education about having a baby and education about having a new animal now, whatever animal that is, from even fish and birds and reptiles. They're sentient beings. I recognize them all as sentient beings. So you have a communication straight up. You just have to be helped to understand how to formulate a loving and relationship of kindness and compassion and understanding.
Very much so.
That's not really taught in schools. That's not really taught, you know, these days. So
no, it's not. It's become a very
easy to understand how things can maybe go a different direction than what you want, you know.
Exactly. It's become a very woke society kind of thing. So it's very much changed. So just sort of like backtracking a little bit for you. What is sort of a brief sort of overview of what the history is of Bach Flower Remedies? Because I know it was from the 1930s and before that, isn't it?
Yes, it was. It's from the 1930s. Dr. Bach was a homeopathic physician, a medical doctor, immunologist, bacteriologist, and surgeon. And he had his own medical practice and research laboratory
Yes.
in Harley Street and in the 30s. And he was always looking for a way to release people from their illness from a core perspective.
Yes.
And he knew
Yes.
from his medical training, he knew the physical medicine side of it, but he also recognized from his own way of being, our emotional and mental state of mind creates our health picture. And he knew that directly. And so he would work people as well as the physical medicine. It would work on their emotional and mental health as well. And he decided at a certain point that he wanted to go back into nature, and he wanted to find something that would address directly the beginnings of disharmony and illness that he saw was happening with people. And he knew that was in nature. And he walked all over England and Wales and was inspired. One day he was looking at the sun on some plants, and they created the dew. And he said that's a very powerful vital force. So he figured out how to take the specific flowers that he chose from his background as a homeopathic doctor,
Yes.
his knowledge, and create the actual flower essences that we know today as 38 Bach flower essences. And it took him about 8 years to create the whole system. And he used that with patients directly. He established he lived in a home in Wellingsford, and that became the Bach Center, which it is today. And he treated patients.
And a lot of the remedies, I think, are still in existence today. I mean, most of the remedies are still being used in one way, shape, or form still today.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. And he also, as a medical researcher and inventor, he created homeopathic nosodes for intestinal toxemia. And those are still being used by homeopaths today.
Fantastic.
And he did a lot of things like that. He had a really full laboratory, and he employed a lot of people. And then he understood that there was a different way of doing something. So he closed all that, left his Harley Street practice, went back into nature, which is kind of an amazing thing to do when you think about it. He was very much well guided by his very clear intuition to his soul, to tell you the truth.
Very much. And I think that also, if you look at how all these kind of things evolve, now for him, it was like his passion. It was like what he was driven to do, to perfect it, to bring it to the world. And so he dedicated his life. And it's like it's so important when you're doing things in life that you dedicate your life to them and give yourself to be the best version of yourself within that system.
Exactly. And when he was a younger man, he wanted to be a doctor at a young age, but his father didn't know if they could afford the medical school. So he went to work for his father, to earn the money to go to medical school. He worked in his father's brass factory, and he didn't quite do a very good job at it. He wasn't that great a salesman. He wasn't that great a worker. His father said, okay. You don't have to inherit the business. You're going to be a doctor. And I always say
you go now.
Father, because he was the eldest.
Left it to his madness.
Eldest male, to say, oh yeah, no, your real skill is being a doctor. You're gonna go. I'm sending you to medical school. Don't worry. So I always say thank you to his father occasionally for recognizing that, because the world
he would have been a brass salesman. He would have been a brass salesman.
Well, he probably wouldn't have been, because his intention was so clear. And he knew at a young age that he needed to be a doctor, that eventually
what a wonderful person he became.
Together anyway, but I always thank his father for not forcing him to be the one who inherits the business. It's quite remarkable. And then, his work has helped millions and millions of people over the world since 1936.
And I think a majority of countries around the world know what Bach Flower Remedies are and what it can be used for. So just the power that he had and the influence he had with the work that he did in the research has been so global in its
Yes,
reach.
definitely global. I think they're sold in more than 70 different countries right now, which is amazing.
Exactly.
And you know, it's the most, I find it a joyful system. I find it a very gentle system to use because you can
Yes.
use it at any age from newborns to elderly for both people and
Yes.
animals. So his whole understanding of bringing health to people that they can use themselves, that they can understand themselves and use it for their friends and their family, is something that was very much at the beginning of when he started everything. He wanted medicine to be for the people.
Exactly.
And that they
So
didn't have to
in
depend
your
on doctors.
experience, as a practitioner, what would you say would be the flower remedy that you recommend the most, in a sense? Because
Well,
there's
it's
always one that
actually,
stands
that's an
out
excellent
above
question.
everything else.
I don't have one that I recommend the most. I can tell you the one that I choose the most for myself. But because when someone comes to see me and to talk to me, we find together what they need for their immediate need and their long-term need. So it's actually a system that's based on your individuality and for you, which I think is also very brilliant and very helpful, because you can really get to the core of your issues and go back to your personal balance. Lately, what I've been doing is I've been choosing the remedy walnut because it smooths the way for change, helps keep you on your path, helps you make change in any kind of change. And I've been using that a lot. And then to prepare for the talk, because I was concerned about the tech, I was taking large for confidence. So I would have confidence to turn on the computer. I would have confidence to push the right buttons and make the mic work. You know, I definitely was taking large. And I was also taking gentian for disappointment and despondency. So if things didn't go, I would have a little more support if I felt sad because we couldn't meet or it didn't work. You know, gentian is a lovely remedy to help you when things don't go well for you in your life and you find yourself in disappointment and you start beginning the beginning of sad. It's not real depression and it's not hopelessness. But the beauty about taking gentian is if you find your mind and your emotions slipping into that disappointment, despondency, oh my God, my life doesn't work, it's never going to work, and your mind starts to spin on those thoughts and you start to create that in your life, you can take the gentian, unplug yourself from that idea and those emotional expressions, so it doesn't have a chance to hopefully get bigger and you slip into depression and hopelessness. Dr. Bach wanted people to use the remedies proactively. So if you discovered you were afraid to go outside the house, like a lot of us went through this, right? We went through not wanting to go out of the house for whatever reason. We went through in the last 3 years a lot of very direct fear consciousness. And oh my God, I'm going to get sick. Oh my God, that person next to me is going to get me sick. We went through a lot of unhealthy fear responses to ourselves and to people around us and to the environment. Well, there's a specific remedy for that. It's Mimulus for known fear, fears you can name. So during that pandemic, I was also reaching for Mimulus a lot because living in a mandated city, and we just had the worst in the beginning. We had, everybody knows the story. I don't even repeat it. But there was so much fear. There was so much lethargy. You found yourself being really tired because of the emotional pressures. It was really intense. And so I reached for certain remedies to help me move through the intensity of the daily emotions that I was around.
And so, for example, if say, for example, somebody is needing to go on something like that, say walnut, or I think the other one is like white chestnut, things like that. If you've got an allergy to nuts, would that affect you taking the remedy?
The flower remedies are a vital force in the living energy of each of the plants that Dr. Bach chose. There isn't anything that you can be allergic to in it, because it's not the physical substance, it's the vital force of the chosen remedy. So
Okay.
it's energetic. These are all the Bach Flower Remedies, all 38 Bach Flower Remedies, plus the rescue remedy, are considered
Yes.
energy medicine. So
Okay.
if you're allergic to walnut, or beech trees make you sneeze, or you have hay fever, you can definitely take the remedies, because you're
Okay.
not, the way that it's processed, the way that it's made, you're not ingesting a physical part of, you're not getting pieces of the branches or pieces of the leaves. That isn't what you're getting when you get what's in the bottle. What's in the bottle that you buy in the shops is the vital force, the energy of the chosen flower, say walnut, plus a preservative because it travels. And you can get the preservative in two ways. You can get it in fruit alcohol, or you can get it in vegetable glycerin. So if you have sensitivities to alcohol, they make all the 38 Bach Flower Remedies and rescue remedy in a vegetable glycerin. So it's literally available to anybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you kind of think if it's made with an alcohol aspect, it could help affect the person that is not meant to be taking any kind of form.
It's not, it's the amount in it usually best, well, that's why they made the ones without the alcohol. So if you have an alcohol sensitivity and you have a concern over that, you just take the remedies that are in the non-alcohol glycerin base. So there's remedies for everybody.
So it's across the board. There's nobody that can't have it, in a sense.
No, there's really nobody that can have it, really. You know, the only people that maybe are taking, say, if you're taking a specific chemical drug that has, let's say, an alcohol blocker in it,
yes,
I would say take the vegetable glycerin remedy. Take the remedy in the vegetable glycerin. Then you wouldn't have a counteractivity. I recently, we talked about this earlier, but is it okay for me to mention what we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. I recently have gone through very extensive cancer surgery and cancer treatment. And when I was well enough and I was in the hospital, the first thing I did when my brother came to visit me, I said, excuse me, can you bring me rescue remedy? And my brother, being my wonderful brother, went to the health food store and bought me rescue remedy. So because I was in a hospital, I asked him to bring me the rescue remedy cream, because that was easier to take. I could rub it on my hands, I could put it on my face, I could put it on places that, you know, hurt. So I was using that. And then as I got better and I went to the nursing home for rehab therapy, he brought me other remedies. Thing my wonderful brother did, went to the health food store and got me other remedies. So I immediately was using the remedies when I could in this very, you know, kind of life-threatening situation. So that's the drama that
for example, what remedy did you put yourself on? So when you went to the home, what sort of remedies did you start off using?
The first one I did,
it's done for the healing process to happen.
My remedy choices really changed. I did a wide range of remedies, especially when I came home and I had my actual Bach Flower Remedy kit here. And what I noticed was that I needed different remedies sooner than I thought, which is an interesting situation.
Yes.
So I would change my remedies because I have a kit here. So, excuse me. So I might need gentian for disappointment because I wanted to have my healing move faster. I might get impatient with myself because, again, I wanted my healing to move faster. Rescue Remedy was my core support in the beginning because it had the Star of Bethlehem for trauma, the cherry plum for my mind to be clear, the impatience to help me get away from tension. You know, it had those combinations. And clematis for spaciness. I know what my personal core remedy is. My reveal is I'm a vervain oak combination, and vervains like to talk, they like to teach, they like to say what's going on, and if they learn something, they want everybody else to know it. And I'm an oak as well, because no matter what happens to me, I just keep going. and that was really true of this year. No matter what happened to me, I had to keep going. So
Exactly.
when I got fatigued emotionally and mentally because of the surgery and because of the treatments and because of all the tests and all that stuff, I was taking oak as well to restore my emotional and mental energy so I could go to the hospital, that I could do my exercises, that I could, complete things. And then walnut
Yes.
was especially necessary because I had, in the hospital, I had 4 or 5 teams that were working with me. And I had to communicate to them what I needed and what I wouldn't do, and what medicines I wanted and medicines I didn't want. So I needed walnut to help protect, so I could me from other people's influence on me, so I could speak my.
Yes. So
So it's
effectively, you kind of like took,
now.
yeah, it's kind of like you took your health into your own hands in a sense.
Oh yes, I completely took my
healing.
health in my own hands. I am very much a believer and a fan of taking, excuse me, I don't know what that is. Taking my health in my own hand, and
Yeah.
asking questions, finding out what I need. I've attended 3 conferences recently on natural medicine care for cancer. And that was super helpful because I met all these professionals who were doing worldwide work. So I got to see what maybe clients might need, but I got to see what I could use for me and integrate in my own, because I believe in integrating both the chemical story with the natural medicine story. I think we should, when we want to have our health back, we need to look everywhere and get the best of everything for ourselves and our families and our animals. I really believe in looking different tests. One of the things in the regular medical story in America is they have machines that can do scans and stuff. Yes, you have to know which ones to do and know the dangers of that, but it's better than surgery all the time to change, to see something, So an ultrasound is a brilliant test. It can give so much internal information. And then you work that with your blood workup, and then you see what that is, and then you can use the chemical story, and then you can bring in the natural medicine story when you need it.
Because all the knowledge that you acquire, it's like you teach best what you need to learn. So you learning the information, you're teaching yourself, but then you're able to then take it and synthesize it to action and impart the knowledge to others as well.
I really hope to do that. This year and a half has been quite extraordinary. And I am so completely grateful to my surgeons and all the care that I got, because I'm alive, literally, and all the physical therapy that I've gotten and all the nursing care and everything else, and my family's care and everybody's prayers. So I'm so completely grateful. And at some point, I haven't found exactly the right mode. I mean, I do a lot of writing online on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I know there needs to be another way of having these conversations, because I very clearly understood that my emotions affected my health and my health affected my emotions. And how can I deal with this to be, as we were talking earlier, emotionally aware and emotionally resilient? One beauty of the Bach Flower Remedies and learning each of the flowers' indications, especially the way that Dr. Bach wrote them, as you begin to become aware of your own personal emotions, you begin to see what you're feeling and how you're feeling it, which I think is really necessary for people to know. And also, you learn different words and different ways to learn how to communicate your emotions in a very full way. So your life becomes richer that way. But the other relationship happens that if you get into a disharmony situation with somebody, when you know the Bach Flower indications, you can say, oh man, that person was really being a bitch. It was really being beach. They were really like pressing all my buttons, but they were in beach and I was in mimulus. And so I got afraid of them because they were overpowering me. You can start to see the dynamic. And when you start to see the dynamic, you're not so afraid of the dynamic. And so your emotional relationships and mental relationships and expressions become richer, they become more vibrant, they come kind of more colors to your life in a way, more vibrations and more colors happen in your life. That's what I've learned over these decades, that I see my life has really gotten richer in how I function with people. And I think that's amazing. I find that incredible.
So my question to you from that point is, what part do you think that intuition plays in your work?
Say that again, please.
What part does intuition play in your work? So
actually,
like for myself, I'm a psychic medium. And so I base everything on my intuition and my gut, my guidance from the divine. So what part of that aspect of you as a person does that play in your work in helping to discover what you need, and using the intuition part of it in your work?
My intuition plays a key role, a large role in my work, both what I choose for myself in my own daily healthcare, how I assess and help a client. My intuition is there. It's always been that way. I don't think there was a time when it wasn't available to me. I think you can learn a system and learn a system really well and know the system in and out. But I think you need to also connect to your heart with your mind and your intuition. I know I'm also a Reiki master, so intuition played a lot of my studies and my doing Reiki with people and animals. So intuition definitely there, absolutely, without a doubt, plays a huge role.
Yes. And so out of humans or animals, which ones are your favorite? Because I know some people are more tuned towards
humans. No, I don't have a favorite. I love all of it because everything will teach me something, and everyone, including the animals, will teach me something. I had 2 dogs, and they had their own remedy mixes, and they had remedy bottles, and they taught me so much on a daily basis of when they needed their remedies and when they didn't. I got them from a friend who became ill, and I took one, and then several years later I took his brother, Putashi and Singe Tashi. I write a little bit about them online. And when Singe came to me, he'd never been in my apartment. He rarely was in an elevator. He didn't know my neighborhood. He knew his brother, of course, because they were bonded pair, but he didn't know me, and he didn't know our routine. So when he first came in, got the rescue remedy, he got some walnut, and as slowly I saw what he needed, and he was learning our ways. He got Larch for Confidence, which really helped him out because he wasn't getting a whole lot of walks on the street. He was getting used to the sounds on the street, the other dogs on the street, the bicycles, the messengers, the energy of, Manhattan. And so Walnut really helped him out with Larch. Occasionally, we would, like if we had fireworks or thunderstorms, they got their rescue remedy when they needed it. And over time, everybody's remedies changed because they came back to their personal balances and the need for the remedy diminished. That's the beauty of the system. It has a natural self-diminishing effect. So say I would take Mimulus for known fear, when it was during the pandemic. When the Mimulus brought me to balance, I could walk outside easily. I could wear a mask. I could do the social distances. I could do all the rules and the regulations. We weren't allowed to travel too much. We really kind of, at the beginning, had to stay in our own neighborhoods. I was able to face things that I could not face before.
Yes.
So say if someone can't get on a plane, Mimulus is a wonderful remedy to help them move through their fears of flying. Or many people use, I use Mimulus and I use Rescue Remedy when I go to the dentist. I always put Rescue
I'd have to use that, yes.
My spit water. I always put Rescue Remedy in my spit water. And I have it, I usually hold it when the dentist is working, or I put it in my pocket so the remedy bottle is close to me for the energy of the remedy. There's many ways of working them into your daily life for things that you need. But again, the beauty of the remedy is once you go back to your balance with that chosen remedy, you usually don't need the remedy again. Something else peels away and something else gets to be revealed. So when I originally got the shock that my cancer had come back and it went to my spine, I was taking rescue remedy. But underneath that, because I had cancer many, many, many long years ago and I was cured, I had to take remedies to face that again. You know, so again, so the rescue remedy brought me to a point where I could face what I was just being told. And then other remedies helped me, support me go through the process and the treatments and my recovery, which, you know, which actually technically I'm still in. I'm still in recovery.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes when we have to deal with fearful situations, it's not the same thing, but it comes with the same energy attached to it, you know, fear in its essence. So you're having to deal with that essence of fear in whichever situation you're putting yourself into.
Yes, exactly.
Having to
and
deal
the
with.
Mimulus is for known fear. Dr. Bach also recognized we have unknown fears. We can walk in a room and be really spooked, or we can wake up from a dream and be really, you know, scared and uncomfortable. That remedy is aspen. That's for known fears that you might not be able to name, but you still have it and you feel edgy and you feel tired. It's good for kids that have nightmares, people that have trouble sleeping, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes. And say, for example, you know, we've had a lot with the children growing up today with things like ADD, ADHD, attention deficit, anxiety, and all these kind of things that came up that maybe we didn't have when we were growing up. That has become a more prevalent now. What would be sort of like a suggestion to parents going through that want to do a natural?
My suggestion is to parents to find a registered practitioner. We have practitioners in almost all countries. And some of them actually do specialize in ADHD, ADD. So I would say find a registered practitioner. And because, again, the conversation between you and your child, depending on how old the child is, each practitioner will have their own way of working with children. You know, some want them to talk if they're old enough, some just talk to the parents. It depends on the style of how the practitioner is working. So I would say find a registered practitioner, and you can find all of us at the Bach Center. There's a list per country, and we're all listed there per country.
And because the kind of conversation that you would have with them, you can do it online. So you can be anywhere in the world, really.
Anywhere in the world.
Because the medications are available. I know that the medications are available here in South Africa, certainly.
We don't really call them medications. We call them just flower essences, flower therapy.
Flower essences, the Bach Flower Remedies.
They're not considered, they're listed to travel as homeopathic medicines. So that's how they get into America, and that's how they get in other countries. So their official certification is they're homeopathic. They're homeopathic medicines.
Homeopathic,
and that's how they get in different countries, and that's how they get permission to send them to different countries, is because they're under a homeopathy. But we have practitioners all over the world. And there are some people, when you contact them, you'll see what they specialize in. I think children are wonderful to take the remedies. I sure wish my mom knew about this with me growing up, because I would have done a whole lot better in school. And I would have had a lot less stuff happening with me if my mom knew these, but she didn't. She knew them later in my life from me, and she used them. Both my parents, actually, when I first learned the remedies in the early 80s, I, of course, brought them home being a Riverbank, and I wanted my parents to totally take them. And actually, they did. In many different instances, they did use the remedies, which I thought was really lovely. They supported me that way.
So, say, for example, like for an older person that's going through like arthritis, so what kind of remedy would be the best for them? So, because it's kind of like it's the pain, it's the joint, it's the degeneration, I suppose, and also then it's the age.
Yeah, definitely. The remedies can help you in every single part of transition in your life, especially when you realize you're getting older and you want to age gracefully and with joy, and you hopefully can find other practitioners to help you. The remedies, because we're all interconnected, our physical and emotional, it's definitely connected. So the remedies can help your emotional and mental state of mind, and then let your body heal. That's kind of the relationship.
Exactly.
So it's wonderful to use the Bach Flower Remedies for your emotional mental state of mind, and then find people to help you in nutrition, in chiropractic,
Yes,
in exercise, in to begin to reflect on your own spirituality and where you are, to find ways to connect yourself to your
exactly.
soul, connect yourself
Yes,
to a wider world around us, because I know that we really aren't alone. We are our guardian angels. We are, whatever spiritual tradition you're in, we can call upon that, especially in these times of transition. And getting older is definitely one that uses it. And I used it specifically because when I was first getting my cancer treatment, they said to me, "Oh, your hair is going to fall out. Are you okay with that?" I said, "Well, I guess so. Nothing I can do about it, at the time." And I'm like, and then it started to happen. And I was like, no, I'm really not okay with this. I really look
exactly.
weird. I don't look like, I look in the mirror and go, huh, who's that? What happened to my body?
Yeah,
What happened here? It's like a friend of
exactly.
mine was teasing me. She said, "You got what everybody gets when they turn 70 and 80, and you ain't there yet." And I had to go
Exactly.
through this, and I'm still going through it. This physical, because I went through such a physical transition, because they actually, removed bone from my spine, so I'm shorter, and everything else happened. But I had to go through all these awarenesses and seeing my body quickly, because it happened very rapidly, quickly change
Yes,
in which I was not at all prepared for, not at all.
yes.
And I was really surprised how much I got upset.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking earlier about, my illness and my transition and stuff. And one of the things that also happened with me is I had long, long hair right down to my waist, and it was,
Wow.
flowing. And I never ever considered myself a vain person, or, was overly concerned on my looks and my hair and everything. Um, but I started to lose my hair.
Oy.
And it got to a stage where I had to make a decision to cut it all off. And
Wow.
I went to the hairdresser, and as I heard the scissors snipping, it was a release, number one, but also traumatic, because I was losing something, an aspect of myself. And it didn't stop there, because I continued to lose my hair with this condition. And it's taken probably a year for my hair to actually get to the length that it is now. And I still, on
Oh,
the top of my head,
congratulations. That's really,
still have, a lot of bald patches and stuff like that. And you were right about saying, like, who's this person that I'm looking in the mirror? And I stopped doing my online things because of the way I looked.
thank
And
you
it
for
was
saying
only
that,
now recently,
because
when I went back to go and do the talks again, I went back and I looked at one of my last videos I did, and I shocked myself. I thought, who the hell was that person? I didn't recognize her at all.
yes, it's exactly how I felt. I didn't want to go online and do any videos this past 2 years, because I felt I don't look like myself. What's going on? My body's so
Yeah.
changed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do Zoom meetings. I didn't want to do anything with anybody, you know?
Yes.
And actually, before we had this talk today, I went and got a haircut, because I'm like, I really need to change how I feel about myself. I need to uplift my own attitude towards myself.
Exactly.
And one of the remedies that I did take, which really helped me out in doing that, actually, was crabapple.
Crab
Crabapple,
apple.
yeah, crabapple. It helps you see yourself as you are. And if there's any imperfections, it helps smooth out your relationship to yourself, so you can begin to love yourself again.
Yes.
And I definitely, and still do, mind you, take crabapple, because as I'm going through my physical therapy, as I'm going, I have to happily report that my cancer's gone. I just got told that. Yay. So it's a happy story in my case. It's an amazing story. It's a miracle story. But I still have physical things to learn and physical things to do. So crabapple will still be by my side. And I've been taking Larch for Confidence as well, so I can, because of the nature of what happened to me, I have to retrain all of my neurological patterns on every level. So I still need the confidence to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I
to
think a lot of people have, I've noticed
in emotional and physical integration.
Yeah.
And the Bach
I
Flower
think I've
Remedies
noticed over the
really help
last
you
couple
with
of years that's
integration.
happened.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the remedies are a wonderful, gentle system to help you with integration. When you're,
Yes.
and it could be not even as dramatic as what I went through. It could be just saying, oh, wait a minute, I want to stop smoking now, or I want to embrace a healthier lifestyle, or, you know, I just had a new baby. I want to get adjusted to this. You know,
Yes.
the baby can get remedies. Your partner can get remedies. You can get remedies. You know, it's a good family. The remedies are wonderful for families. And I wish
Exactly.
more families actually use them, because everybody goes through family relations, especially everybody's found out, you know, everybody was squished together these years and things changed and it was really dramatic.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful to use, to find the remedy that you need to help balance your family situations. It's
Very much.
really, really great. It's a wonderful system to integrate into taking care of your children, to help your own personal self-care, your partner's self-care. You know, it's very basically straightforward and easy to use. Anyone can use them. I'm talking as a
Yes.
practitioner, but you can go to the shops, read about them at the Bach Center, read about them on Nelson's Online. I'm only saying those places because they have authentic information. There's a ton of information out there on the remedies. There's millions of people using them every day. But
Exactly.
I go back to the sources of where they come from. So if I need to look something up, I'll go back to Dr. Bach's own philosophy of medicine. And one book that I read at least once a year, or maybe more, is by Nora Weeks, the curator of the Bach Center and Dr. Bach's assistant. She wrote a book on the medical discoveries and how he actually found the remedies in great detail. It's a wonderful book to read, especially you learn about him and where he came from and what he did and what the actual details of the journey to create this was. It's a wonderful book to read. And then his books. All his books have been published since the 1930s. His books on the Bach Flower Remedies with his own descriptions, the 7 categories of history, how to use it, very specifically from him. I highly recommend people find those books. And a lot of free information on the use of the remedies, how to choose them, is on the Bach Center website. And some of that I think is printable. So it's very easy to find them. You would find me when you want to do a private consultation, when you have questions, when you need something confirmed, when you want to work with your animals. We're all here. Dr. Bach felt that everybody could take their health into their own hands, that it was possible to be your own healer. And the system is designed to help people use it for themselves, which I think that's a brilliant idea. And he was way decades ahead of his time, you know, in thinking these ideas.
But generally people like that would have been, you know, years and millenniums ahead of their time,
you
kind
know,
of thing.
it's amazing when you read Free Thyself and Heal Thyself and his philosophy of medicine, when you read his biography, it's amazing how far thinking he was. And it's amazing that these are here for us to use every day in our daily lives.
Very much so. Jennifer, you and I could talk until the cows came home. That's my favorite expression. But, you know, if people would like to get hold of Jennifer, the link will be in the description below of the video. And, you know, I will leave her details and contact details in the link below. And it's just been my absolute pleasure and honor to have you, and to have you,
thank you,
a healed soul, or almost a healed soul, which is an incredible journey that you've been through. And we send you a lots of love and sunshine and joy from Africa, so that your healing can continue.
Sending that to you from New York City. It's wonderful to be able to speak about something that I truly love, and I know that really works and has really helped me and many, many others throughout the world. It's a gift,
I could feel that.
Share the information.
Exactly. And I could feel that through everything that you said and how passionate you are about your work. And I think that's very important for people to know, is that find your passion and do it on purpose. Is always a wonderful expression. Find your passion, do it on purpose. Be
yes, absolutely. I totally, definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's coming to the time where we just close the doors. And I would
Okay.
like to say thank you very much for Jennifer for joining us today, all the way from New York. And I'm your host, Priscilla Gendron. Please click like and subscribe to the channel. The video will be posted up onto all the social media, and links will be posted to everybody that's interested. So without much further ado, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Jennifer, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.